Hello, federal viewers. Today it's been a tragic day, not in Indian skies, but in Dubai. We saw the second Tejas crash, and unfortunately, it has claimed a life this time round. So, here with us is Captain C.S. Randhawa. He was a wing commander with the Indian Air Force, and now he flies commercial jets. And he's also had the experience of working with the DGCA. Sir, welcome to the show. And I wanted to start by asking you any initial thoughts.
It was very unfortunate because in air shows, at times it so happens that either there is a technical problem with the aircraft with the control systems, or at times the pilot misjudges the height. And when you perform these maneuvers, there's a minimum height which the pilot have to keep into consideration when they're performing in the air shows. Many years back at the Palam Air Force Day parade, we had a Mirage crashing uh, in the airport. And that was again primarily that was not a problem with the aircraft, and it was ultimately found that the height was too less for the aircraft and it could not maneuver, and aircraft crashed. Now, today was an unfortunate day because Tejas, has taken part in an exercise few months last year. In fact, on 12th of March, Bharat Shakti was the exercise which was conducted by Tri Services in Rajasthan area, and last day of the exercise, when the exercise was almost culminating, uh, one of the Tejas crashed, and there the pilot ejected safely. So pilot was alive. This is the second crash which I know of on the Tejas aircraft. It's a single engine fighter Mark 1 aircraft, and it's got a fly by wire control system, modern systems of the controls, and it's a single engine aircraft, right?
Got
So,
it. Sir, I know it's
tell
too
me.
early to ask this, but
Yeah.
just going by the video, would it be, because you can see that the jet is losing energy quite rapidly after the vertical climb in this. So, do you think this profile may be consistent with, like, say, engine power loss or a flight control anomaly? I want to bring to your attention this incident with the F-35, where in air, the weight on wheels function, there was an anomaly, and then there was an engine shutdown. And even in the Air India case, people have been speculating whether the engine shutdown was caused by FedEx, and this is also a FedEx driven engine. So is there any possibility of it being completely technical?
Um, See, I told you from the videos I have seen of the accident. It was covered by NDTV also. So what I have seen the video very carefully, and they stopped the video so many times. Uh, the aircraft got airborne at 2 p.m. local Dubai time, and between 2:05 and 2:10, that means within 5 minutes, it performed a lot of maneuvers, which included a loop, some rolls, and some high-speed passes, which the aircraft had done. And at 2:10, it lost control and finally crashed at 2:12. That was it. Now, from the video, it is quite evident that the aircraft was doing a roll, okay, at a low altitude. Now, when you do a roll, it is positive and combined. It's a, you roll the aircraft on the axis, right? So it's a quite a fast maneuver, and if you keep the nose little higher above above the sky, then little higher nose. Then when you roll the aircraft will tend to lose very less height. So you can perform the roll. But in this case, what has happened when it came out of the roll, right? It has suddenly gone into a pitch dive, So could be there was a problem with the fly-by-wire system, the controls, which actually because there was no reason for him to go into a dive
True.
because the height was too less. He couldn't have done a loop from there, right? So he's come out of the roll. He wouldn't immediately go for a loop. If you see the aircraft has turned towards the right and then come on the back and gone into a dive,
Sure, sir.
right? From the video, if you see the clips in the slow motion, you'll come to know that. Now,
True. Yeah.
yeah, please go ahead.
No. So, when you say, that it could be like flight control systems were not, or there could be like an issue with the engine, then we are still, even though Tejas is supposed to be a domestic program, we are still dependent on GE, and we are still dependent on avionics for players like Moog or Emerson Electric. So, how much of the Tejas would you say is domestic, and how, like, given that there are so many foreign component makers in this stages, how
Yes.
do you get to the truth at some point?
This, if you see Tejas aircraft, I would put across at least 90% of the components are all foreign origin, including the engine. Engine is American. Okay,
Okay.
so earlier we had a controversy. There was a problem with the supply of the engines, and this aircraft took a long time. It got inducted in 2016 after 23 years or 20 years, 22 years. Okay, so
True.
very, very long time because there were so many bottlenecks and, dependency
Pollution
on
issues,
the for different
depending.
components because India doesn't produce any components and manufactures any engines or airframe. So most of the aircraft, if you see, I would say 80 to 90%, 80% or 90% would be all foreign components. Now, the problem in today's flight, I told you there could be two reasons. One is that there was a problem with the flight control system, that is the fly by wire system in the aircraft. It could have malfunctioned, right? Uh, because there was no high G conditions, a
Yeah.
positive high G condition, because aircraft was rolling. So when you roll, you are under maximum G of 2.0 to 2.5. That's it. So it was not in a very high condition. Now you see the aircraft is rolling and it's coming out of the roll and gone into a dive. So
True.
that is what I feel, that there could have been a malfunction in the fly-by-wire system,
Okay.
because there's no reason for the pilot, because he was well experienced. He was a wing commander in the Indian Air Force, must be having at least 16, 17 years of service, and that is a lot in in fighter flying in the Air Force. So
Okay.
I don't doubt the capability of the pilot, and I would say that there is a high chance of a control failure. Okay.
Sure,
Um,
sure, sir. So you're saying there's a high chance of control failure, and like you say, the pilot
yes.
would be someone who's highly experienced. Now, I want to talk
Yes.
about something which is like the ejection, sir. Now, if you see, people in the armed forces, particularly when you look at INS Kukri, the captain went down with the ship, and then again, like with many fighter jets, that the pilot could have hit the eject button, but he still wants to save the craft. He still wants to do so. In that last few seconds, like rather than saving himself, he would rather save the craft. So you've seen this time and again where many crash investigators have seen that, the pilot could have ejected earlier if he was thinking only of himself, but he doesn't, and then it ends up in a loss of life. So can you comment on that, like this aspect of
You're
people being so
absolutely
tied to
right.
their craft that it becomes like an emotional this that you want to get the plane back in air?
See, you're absolutely right. What happens is the pilot is most comfortable in the cockpit, right? So you don't want to leave the cockpit, right? And at times it has to be a split second decision, because if you see
Yeah.
the aircraft has come out of the roll and immediately dived, right? There was no time. Okay, but he could have ejected, because you see nowadays you have zero ejection seats. That means even on the ground you press the ejection, pull the ejection handle, and you can eject even on the ground at zero speed.
Hmm.
Earlier seats, you had various combinations, height combination, speed combination. But today's modern aircraft, those seats are geared up to
Hmm.
eject. Now, you see, when he is straightened out, he could have ejected.
Okay.
Now, I don't think that there could have been a malfunction in the ejection seat.
Okay.
Okay,
That is less rare.
but what you rightly said, that when the ship is sinking, the captain, until the last moment, he tried to save the ship. The same is
Hmm.
in the case with the aircraft. Many fighter aircraft have gone down because the pilot has delayed the ejection. But those aircraft, some of the most of these aircraft were MiG 21s, which had a problem of they did not have zero ejection seats. So
Sure.
many crashes took place. But in many cases, the problem was
Hmm.
same. They had not ejected in time, right? But some people, because of various other things, they could not eject in time. Sometimes there could have been an ejection seat failure. But this is a modern
Sure.
seat which is fitted.
Sure.
So
So
I
going
have
back
my
to the
doubt.
past, Uh,
Amni?
so going back to the past, when it was INS Kukri and Captain Mullah went down with the ship, the Indian Navy immediately put out an advisory saying, "Listen, we are not requiring you to give up your life. Please, if you have the ability, chance to save yourself, please save yourself." And then we can worry about the equipment and the ship later. So that way, do you think the IAF should put out an advisory, or there should be more training that, it doesn't matter, the jet can be worth millions of dollars, but your life is more important. If you see that there's no way to save the craft, just get out, like hit eject. Like, is there any such training that you feel
Yes.
the
You
IAF needs to
see,
give pilots, because they
like
seem to
like
have
in
too much emotion, like the attachment to the jet?
No, see, like in the commercial side, in the civil side, in the military also, you have standard operating procedures.
Mm.
Okay, and there also they follow it strictly. So the
Mm.
ejection height is already given, because here you must appreciate that you have to take into account the aircraft is descending at a very rapid rate.
True.
Okay, but still, in such an exigency, when you lose control of the aircraft,
Mm.
it is appropriate to pull the ejection handle and just eject. There's
Okay.
no point in now trying to recover because you're so low.
Mm.
So there is no chivalry that okay, I will recover, because most of the times what happens, that many Air Force crashes happen trying to save
Mm.
the aircraft. Yeah, I'll get it out of the situation. So you
Mm.
have to have a mindset, though enough training, enough emphasis is paid by the armed forces, and I've been a fighter pilot myself. I have done a lot of training of pilots in single engine jet aircraft, and we always used to train the pilots even from the training stage that when should they eject. Now, each machine is different, each injection seat is different. So, our briefing used to be when the aircraft is lost control and this is the minimum height, you must eject.
Okay, that's very
So,
interesting.
yeah, so that there is no doubt that
Mm.
training standards of Air Force are extremely high. I would put across the training standards in Air Force are much higher than the commercial standards. Okay,
Sure, sir.
because at each
So,
stage you have filtering, you have people.
mm.
Yeah.
So beyond the training standards,
So
could you talk about
here, if you
transparency,
see,
sir? Because you see, the first crash when it happened in
uh,
2024, uh, it
Amni,
looked like it was a component, like an engine lubrication failure. But this is now a Dubai air show, and it's a lot of prestige, and India's. Do you think we will see a similar transparency into what were the reasons for this crash, like we had in the 2024 episode where they did talk of technical failure? Do you think we'll see the same level of transparency now in the 2025 crash, given it's the second
you
crash and
see,
it happened in such
I'll
a
tell you one thing.
huge
Once they,
space?
yes, Air Force, you see, Air Force, the inquiry when the court of inquiry is normally, as I told you, that only in cases where they can't, because they were old time aircraft like MiG-21s, they did not have the DFDR and the CVRs and all that, right? No autopilot. Now, the present day modern fighters and all that, they have the DFDRs and CVR. So you would be able to get the analysis what has gone wrong. But if there was no DFDR, no CVR, then it becomes a big issue. So normally, after a few accidents, thorough investigation as to why this, because this is in a foreign land, in an exercise, you're carrying out maneuvers in the public, and thank God it happened away from the where the crowd was there.
True.
That's
There were no
another
public.
problem. So normally, after a few accidents around the world, when the air shows, they started keeping a lot of distance between the aircraft where it's doing maneuvers and where the crowd is going to be
True. That's quite a safe this, as you
seated.
say. So my last question to you
So,
would be.
in my view, Air Force would come out clearly like what has happened. They would just so that yeah.
Right. So I wanted to ask you, in many of these crash investigations, you're highly dependent on the technology provider. Now, this could be HAL, it could be GE, it could be Safran, it could be Rafael. But be it the Air India crash or this one, you do end up being dependent on the OEM, the manufacturer itself. So, do you think this technology dependence? Because I've heard subject matter experts in AIB complaining about this, that they do not get like full cooperation from HAL when it comes to investigating, say, fixed wing or helicopter crashes. So, any response to that?
Firstly, AIB, I've been saying even in the accident of AI 171, and I'm still, very, very firm on that, that the present constitution of the AIB board uh, is not appropriate at all as per Annex 13 and as per ICO Doc 9756, right? Not at all. They are not competent to do investigations of this nature, right? That's why I've been asking that there should be subject matter experts on board, and yet I do not find any engineers and all who are on board. More reliance is on NTSB, FAA, Boeing, Honeywell, all foreign agencies. Now, here in
True.
the Air Force, at least, one good thing would be when an investigation is done, you have subject matter experts which are on board. I myself I have done court of inquiries or in crashes in the Air Force. Okay, and every bit is investigated. Now, in this case, they will involve HAL, definite. Okay, because it is leading to it could have led from fly by wire system, the control system that has to be investigated thoroughly. Engine failure is ruled out. If you see the trajectory of the aircraft, right, and the
Right.
impact, I do not foresee an engine failure. Okay,
Right.
definitely a control failure is a high chance, right? Delay in pilot ejection second. As far as the investigations go, I am quite confident that Air Force they will come out truly with what has happened. It is not a commercial sale where they're affected because most of these aircraft are supposed to be inducted into Indian Air Force. So they will,
Okay.
if there is a control problem, they will like to fix it. And presently they have one squadron of Tejas,
Okay.
about 18 aircraft. Okay,
Right. Right.
okay. So they they will take India's not approach. You put a blame like what happened in 737 Max.
Right, sir. I think you've been muted. I don't know how that's happened, but
Yeah,
okay. Any closing thoughts, sir,
sorry.
on
What
this tragedy?
muted? Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that 737, okay, crash, put the blame on the pilot. Second time it crashed, there was so much of human cry in Ethiopia that when they found there was a problem with the aircraft. Why do manufacturers second to take this?
Right.
Hello, can you hear me?
No, we can hear you
Tejas?
fully well, and I totally understand like what happened with the Max
Yeah, please go ahead.
737 crashes and the lack of transparency. But I think we have faced a little bit of a technical issue. But thank you so much for joining us today, sir, and thank you for also telling us that we can have faith in the IAF because this is not a commercial. So we will get to know the truth after the crash investigation into the Tejas, the
Correct,
second
correct.
Tejas
I have full faith. I have full faith.
okay.
Like I don't have faith in the AIB, but I have full faith in the
Okay.
Indian effort.
Okay, that's good to hear, sir. And maybe hopefully we may also get to know the truth on the AI 171, just like with Tejas. So thank you for
Yes,
joining us
yes.
today, sir. Thank
Bye.
you.